All right, so let's dive into this fascinating world of brain plasticity. We've got these two amazing lectures from Dr. Michael Merzenich, and this guy, he's basically spent his career trying to understand how our brains change. And, the big question, how we can actually tap into that power.
Yeah, and it's amazing to think that for so long we had this idea that our brains were basically fixed after a certain age.
Right, like a hardwired computer, right?
Exactly, like a computer with set hardware. But Dr. Merzenich's work has really been instrumental in showing us that's just not true at all.
Yeah, he called that the old machinery view of the brain, right?
Yeah,
But it's not this like static machine. It's constantly rewiring itself based on, what we experience and what we learn, what we
yeah.
expose ourselves to. It's like we all have this superpower we never knew about.
And the implications of that are really quite mind-blowing when you think about it, right? Every skill you've mastered, from learning to read to playing a musical instrument to learning how to code, has actually physically changed the structure of your brain.
Wow.
That's brain plasticity in action.
And here's where it gets really wild, right? So he proved that you could rewire your brain for the worse. He actually said he could destroy someone's ability to understand language with like 20 hours of targeted training.
Yeah, it's because our brains are constantly being shaped, whether we realize it or not, by our daily habits, our environments, the way we choose to interact with the world. It's a powerful reminder that we have a responsibility to kind of be mindful of what we're feeding our minds.
Absolutely. And he talks about how, in the past we used to get so much more, I guess you could call it like natural brain exercise, right? Like navigating uneven terrain, reacting to unexpected situations, constantly adapting. And now with our paved roads and our predictable routines, we've kind of created this, he calls it noise in our brains that can actually speed up, accelerate aging and cognitive decline.
Yeah, and to really understand the impact of this noise, we have to kind of zoom in and look at what's happening on a physical level. You can almost imagine your brain like a network of roads, right?
Okay.
And when we challenge ourselves, when we learn new things, when we have those new experiences, we're essentially paving these smooth, efficient highways in our brain.
Got it.
But when we get stuck in those routines, when we expose ourselves to, maybe excessive stimulation or negativity, it's like we're letting those roads crumble, or we're even building detours that, lead us astray.
So it's almost like our brains crave novelty, crave that challenge. And when they don't get it, they kind of start to deteriorate. Like a muscle that you don't use, you lose it, right?
Precisely. Yeah. And what's, even more unsettling is that Dr. Merzenich actually showed that he could accelerate the aging process in animal brains by intentionally introducing this noise.
Wow.
So their brains ended up looking physically and functionally similar to those of animals near the end of their lifespans.
That's kind of alarming when you think about it.
Yeah, it's a little unsettling for sure.
It is, but it's also incredibly insightful,
Yeah.
right? Because it drives home this point that we need to be really proactive about how we engage with the world and what we're allowing into our minds. It's not enough to just kind of like passively consume information, right? Our brains need to be actively challenged.
They do.
But there's good news, right?
Yep.
His research also shows that the changes that we might think of as just, oh, this is just aging, are largely reversible.
Exactly. Even what we might consider significant age-related decline can be reversed, which is pretty amazing.
So there's hope. Our brains have this amazing ability to heal and regenerate even later in life, which is great news for all of us. And one of the ways that Dr. Merzenich has been putting this into practice is with this online platform that he co-founded called Brain HQ. And it's basically designed to train your brain with all these targeted exercises.
Yeah, it's like a personalized brain gym, But
Yeah.
it's all backed by decades of really intense scientific research.
That's not just like random brain games, right?
Right.
There's actually a method to this.
Exactly, yeah. Brain HQ uses this principle called adaptive training where, the difficulty of the exercises adjusts to your performance, which is really cool. It kind of keeps pushing you to that sweet spot just outside of your comfort zone, and that's where the magic happens.
That's where the growth happens, right?
Exactly.
And it's not just, like we said, not just random brain games. Each exercise is carefully designed to target specific neural pathways.
Oh.
And they've got the research to back it up. There's one, for example, called double decision.
Yeah, I've heard of that one.
And that one's been shown to improve multitasking, attention, even things like driving ability and longevity, which is kind of wild when you think about it.
It is. It is. It's amazing how, these targeted exercises can have these ripple effects on different aspects of our lives.
So it sounds like Brain HQ is pretty amazing, but Dr. Merzenich is also a big proponent of, not just doing these exercises, but finding ways to challenge your brain in everyday life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just about sitting down for an hour a day and doing brain exercises. It's really about, he emphasizes, things like learning new skills, staying physically active, engaging in those meaningful conversations. All of that helps to keep our brains sharp. It's about making our lives an ongoing opportunity for brain growth, right?
Yeah.
We need to be seeking out those new challenges and experiences that kind of push us beyond our comfort zones.
Yeah, it's like a more holistic approach to brain health,
yeah,
right?
Jack.
It's recognizing that our brains thrive on novelty, connection, that continuous learning. So it's not just about living longer, it's about living better, right? With a brain that's engaged and sharp and adaptable. And he's very clear that this applies to everyone. He really emphasizes that anyone with an intact brain can improve at any age. It's never too late, which is a really empowering message, I think. But how do we make this a reality for everyone? That's kind of the big question, right?
That's the question, isn't it? How do we translate this incredible knowledge into practical steps that can benefit, everyone? Because the potential here is enormous, not just for individuals, but for society as a whole.
Yeah, it really makes you think about the potential impact, right? Like imagine if we treated brain health with the same kind of importance that we treat our physical health.
Right. And, Dr. Mrsinich actually touches on this in these lectures. He talks about, he envisions a future where brain health assessments are just as routine as yearly physicals.
Wow.
You go in, you get a detailed look at what's happening inside your brain, maybe identify, potential issues before they even become noticeable.
That would be incredible. I mean, what kind of difference do you think that could make, being able to see those early warning signs?
Well, it could be revolutionary, right? I mean, early detection means we could intervene earlier, potentially slow down, or even in some cases, reverse that cognitive decline. We could be using targeted training programs tailored to, each person's specific needs to strengthen those neural pathways to build cognitive resilience.
So instead of waiting for problems to show up and then trying to treat them, after the fact, we're taking this more proactive approach to brain health.
Right.
That's a pretty powerful concept.
Yeah, it is. And it's not just about, preventing decline. It's about empowering people to function at their best cognitively, throughout their lives.
Right.
We're talking about enhancing memory, improving focus, boosting processing speed, even potentially, delaying the onset of some of those age-related cognitive conditions that, we all worry about.
It's almost like we're taking control of our cognitive destinies, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just kind of letting things happen to us. He even mentions, which I found really fascinating, he talks about using brain training to help people with some pretty serious conditions like schizophrenia and bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating to me. What's the connection there?
Well, it's still a very much emerging field, but there is growing evidence that, targeted brain training could be a real game changer in the world of mental health. And the idea is that, by understanding the specific neural circuits that are disrupted in these conditions, we can actually develop these personalized training programs to help, rewire those circuits and improve cognitive function.
So rather than just managing symptoms with medication, for example, we're actually trying to go in and, at least address the underlying neurological mechanisms that might be contributing to those challenges in the first place.
That's the idea, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a completely different way of thinking about mental health. And while there's, a lot more research that needs to be done, the potential is huge. I mean, imagine a future where brain training is just a standard part of mental health treatment.
Wow.
Helping people regain that cognitive control and just improve their quality of life.
It's pretty mind-blowing to think about how this research could transform, not just individual lives, but entire communities, societies. He even talks about training programs for kids who are struggling in school.
Yeah.
Programs for law enforcement to improve, their decision-making in these high-pressure situations.
Right.
Even programs for athletes to enhance their cognitive abilities on the field or on the court.
Yeah, it's really about recognizing that, our brains are involved in everything we do.
Right.
And by understanding how to optimize that brain function, we can really unlock potential in every aspect of life, from education to healthcare to, like you said, criminal justice and beyond.
So it sounds like, his vision really goes beyond just helping individuals. He's talking about a paradigm shift, right? a fundamental change in how we approach brain health as a society.
Exactly. He talks about the importance of starting early, of, equipping children with the knowledge and tools to really foster their own cognitive development from a young age. Imagine if brain health education was just a standard part of the curriculum alongside physical education.
That would be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're teaching kids about brain health, we're also teaching their parents,
Yeah.
right? Their teachers, their communities.
Right.
It could have this incredible ripple effect. But beyond specific programs and interventions, what can we all be doing right now to kind of apply this knowledge in our own lives?
Well, I think it starts with really embracing this idea that, we're not just passive passengers in our own cognitive journeys, right?
Right.
We have the power to shape our brains, to make choices that support brain health, and really optimize that cognitive function.
So it's not just about Brain HQ or, other brain training programs. It's about adopting a lifestyle that supports brain health.
Exactly. And he really emphasizes this. He talks about, living life to the advantage of your brain.
What does that even mean?
It means, being intentional about the choices we make every single day, right? Things like staying physically active, eating a brain-healthy diet, making sure you're getting enough sleep. Those are all crucial for cognitive function.
We know those are good for us anyway, but it's interesting to think about them specifically through the lens of brain health.
Right, exactly. And it goes beyond just the basics. He also really stresses the importance of, continuous learning, of challenging our brains with new information, new experiences throughout our lives.
So learning a new language or picking up a musical instrument or even, just trying a different route to work.
Yeah,
These are all things that can benefit our brains.
exactly. The key is to keep your brain engaged, stimulated. Don't let yourself fall into that rut. Challenge yourself to step outside of that comfort zone and try new things.
It's about saying yes to those opportunities that, stretch our minds and expand our horizons. It makes you wonder, with all the potential benefits, right, of brain training and brain health in general, why aren't we already doing more of this?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
I know, right? It's like you'd think this would be, front page news with all the amazing things that we're learning about the brain and its potential. Why do you think it hasn't really, caught on in a bigger way?
Oh, I think, part of it might just be inertia, right? We've been stuck in this old way of thinking, this idea that our brains are fixed, unchangeable for so long that it's hard to kind of break free from that. And of course, there's always that skepticism around anything new, especially when we're talking about something as complex as the brain.
Yeah, that makes sense. But, all the research that's coming out now, it's getting harder to ignore. What did you say?
Absolutely. And, the more we learn about this incredible capacity for change that our brains have, the more responsibility we have to use that knowledge, not just for ourselves, but for, future generations.
So how do we do that?
Right.
How do we make brain health a priority, not just for individuals, but for, society as a whole?
Well, it's a multifaceted challenge, but I think education is a huge part of it. We need to start young, teach kids about their brains, how they work, and how they can keep them healthy and strong throughout their lives.
It's like we were saying before, if we can make brain health a regular part of the conversation, just like we talk about, eating our vegetables and getting enough exercise, it can become ingrained in our culture.
Exactly. It's about shifting from this reactive approach, only dealing with brain health when there's already a problem, to a more proactive approach, one that emphasizes prevention, early intervention, really lifelong cognitive enhancement.
So it's not just about treating diseases.
Mm-hmm.
It's about creating a world where everybody has the opportunity to, reach their full cognitive potential. And it doesn't matter how old they are, what their background is, everybody has that potential.
Absolutely. It's about, fostering brain health across the entire lifespan, from supporting healthy development in kids to promoting that cognitive vitality as we get older.
It's an amazing vision for the future, and the most exciting part is this is a future that we can actually create. We have the knowledge, we have the tools, and I think, these lectures that you shared, they give us a roadmap for how we can get there.
We do. We really do. And it's not about waiting for someone else to make it happen. Each of us, we have the power to start shaping our own cognitive destinies right now.
That's so true. So for our listener who has been with us on this incredible deep dive, what's the one thing, if they take away one thing from all of this, what would you want it to be?
I want them to walk away feeling empowered, knowing that their brain isn't, set in stone, it's dynamic, it's adaptable, and they have the power to influence their own brain health, their own cognitive trajectory. And it really comes down to the choices they make every single day.
It's about taking ownership,
Right.
right, of our brain health, seeing every single day as an opportunity to learn, to grow, to challenge those incredible brains of ours. So, if you're listening to this, embrace the power of brain plasticity. Challenge yourself, stay curious, and never stop learning. Your brain will thank you for it.